Today on Get in the Lab, we're talking about the pros and cons of adding video to your podcast. Plus, I run into a snag with Amazon affiliate links for my niche site. And Kevin and I run a little unplugged experiment for 5 days. More on that in 3, 2, 1. Plato said, "Know thyself." It's not always easy, but it is necessary. This is Get in the Lab. Welcome back to the lab. My name is Megan, and thank you for being here today. I super appreciate it. Here on Get in the Lab, I run small little personal experiments to gain real big life goals. I run small personal experiments to reach my big personal goals. Okay, so somebody asked in the comments, and I appreciate you pointing it out and being very, very astute, saying, I'm not sure what your niche is. I'm going to say niche and niche in the same. I'm just going to use both because I'm cool like that. That if you've been with me since the beginning, thank you for pointing that out. It's very valid of you to point that out, and I call myself out on that all the time on the show. But if you've been with us since the beginning, it's been a very, very tumbly road of what's my thing? I'm going to let the audience decide. I'm just going to not worry about that too much because I think it puts me in a sort of paralysis. And I think a lot of people can relate. They're like, what is my thing? What am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? How do I niche down, right? And they say niche down till it hurts, right? Niche down. It's really hard. It is really hard if you aren't laser focused and being like, I do mobile marketing. Okay, cool. But if you don't really fall into that category, which I think a lot of us are like that, and we have a lot of interest and we're multi-passionate people, you can get paralyzed by thinking about what's my niche. Although it really helps for you to really, niche down and really try to focus, at least try. I try every single day, I'm telling you, to really hone in on what my focus is. And I do a lot of things to get me there. But I'm not going to let that, in the fact that it's not very clear to my audience or even to me sometimes, I'm not going to let that unclarity stop me from what I'm doing and just kind of moving from my heart. So, for those of you who've been with me since the beginning of this very tumultuous, sometimes unclear road, but still stuck with it, I thank you. And, sometimes that's just the way of the creator. I like to think of myself as an artist, so sometimes the pathway is not always clear. I apologize for that, but at the same time, I'm not going to apologize for it because that's just the way things are done here. And I've kind of grown to love it. So, clearly there are many, many other shows that are very laser focused. This one is not one of them. I will try my best, to be more focused with my material, which I am doing here in season 3. But yeah, it's like life. It's unpredictable. So that is Get in the Lab. So for those of you still with me, thank you for being here. Okay, so today we're going to talk about video podcasting. Why? Because it was actually a question posed in a very big group that I am a part of, a podcasting group, and I thought it was really kind of poignant to bring about because one, I've sort of rehearsing for my talk at Podcast Movement. I think it's relevant to talk about video and podcasting because this is what this is. And if you are interested in adding video into your podcast show or into your content creation scheme, this show is for you. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. This is one way. Specifically in my talk, I'm going to talk about how you can implement video that doesn't have to be this big production scale that looks, I would say, intimidating. If I didn't know anything about video, this whole setup right here, this look, this shot, everything would probably look very intimidating. And it still is quite a chore to put together, but we'll go through that later on in the show. Okay, first, guys, I want to talk to you guys about our unplugged experiment. So I told you guys just in the intro that Kevin and I ran a little 5-day experiment of unplugging from work. So this was brought on by Kevin, which is funny because he's probably probably it's like a big surprise for this conversation and this sort of experiment to come from him, because he's if you know him, he's very hooked into his phone. He's very on. He's very responding to clients, that whole thing. And when he mentioned to me that I was too attached to my phone, I was like, excuse me? I learned this from you, man. So this was actually brought on by the fact that both of us love the hustle. We love what we do. And that becomes an issue when we both put that love of what we do above our own relationship. So here's the story. Okay. We were in the car, talking about, we should unplug. It's summertime. Let's try to do a summer break or summer vacation. And Kevin was saying, hey, let me book a Airbnb in San Diego and we can chill there for like a week or something. And I said, oh, okay, can we get one of those little tiny houses? I love tiny houses. They look so cool. And he said, well, okay, but why a tiny house? I mean, we can get a really, really nice hotel. It's not a big deal. Or not a nice hotel, like a nice big house. Like, why a tiny house, right? I was like, well, I could vlog about it and then I can shoot an episode in there, right? And so he was like, wait, so I'm booking a hotel for us, or Airbnb, whatever, this tiny house for us to vacay in, and you're going to work? And I said, but it's not work to me. I love making videos. I love vlogging. And then he was like, well, it's not work to you, sure, but when we're on a vacation together, it feels like you're working. You're not here. I'm not going to book a vacation for us for you to work, right? And then at first I was like, oh, how dare you? How dare you insult my baby, my labor of love, and I'm trying to hustle, I'm trying to make it. And I have to take every opportunity. I have to take every opportunity because I'm a hustler. And how dare you try to take that away from me? And I think this sort of mentality will come back again and again for an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur loves to hustle, loves to work in what they're doing. They're passionate about what they're doing. And for the most part, they don't see it as work. Yes, it is a tedious thing to put this thing up together and whatever, worry about my hair, worry about my mic, worry about my whatever. But I love to do it. I wouldn't want to do anything else in the world than this right now with you guys. But it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair to your partner and the relationships that you hold around you when you prioritize your work and the hustle above your family. So, of course, rationally speaking, I would never put my work or this podcasting thing above my relationship. But those little attitude perspectives about how you run your life on a daily basis and how you think about your life on a daily basis, that mindset of always hustling and never kind of being rooted in your relationship, that's unhealthy. That's quite unhealthy. So with that, we had a conversation, a very long and arduous one, about what it means to hustle and do what you love at the same time. Balance, the time old tale of work-life balance the relationship. So for me, I was saying to him, like, hey, I'm hustling because I haven't made it. I'm not established like you are. Okay. And that's why I see, staying at a tiny house, Airbnb style, as an opportunity, as a business opportunity. And I'm sorry. And I apologize for seeing it as a business opportunity and not as a time to spend with you. Right. So I think this is something, it's an important lesson, not just for me, but for both of us. There have been a number of times where we're both prioritizing work over each other. And it's something that we both as a team need to remind each other of. It's nothing to attack or blame each other for, but simply to remind each other, because we're human, right? And I think that if you're in a relationship and you're an entrepreneur and you're dealing with the same things that we're dealing with, balancing work and life, work and love, it's just a reminder. It's just a reminder, and to forgive each other for those little happenings that will happen. Believe me, okay? Work will always be there. 1 week to unplug. That's nothing. but it's so necessary. It's really nothing in the scheme of work. Your work will be there when you get back, but you absolutely have to take the time, however long it may take, whether it's a day or a week or whatever. We did 5 days. We did like 6 days of being unplugged from work, consciously, really, really consciously, not trying to market ourselves, even posting things on Instagram. For the last 5 days, it was like maybe one photo, which is very odd for my generation, right? Our millennial generation. You have to take a picture of it in order for us to say that it happened. And so not every comment and every heart and like and share and everything like that needs to be responded to in that moment, right? It can wait. What needs to be responded to in the moment is the relationships, the people who are in front of you in that very moment. And if you've made that agreement to say, unplug for the day and spend time together, even if it's for a movie or even if it's for a trip to the grocery store, that you are there, you are present with that person and present just with yourself instead of always being attached to your phone and wanting to prove to the world that you bought donuts on National Donut Day, right? So little things like that. I think we took this 5-day experiment to unplug from work at the end of the day or in the middle, or like really, really early, because I wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, to still kind of check in with our social media, because we now have this responsibility to our brands and to our businesses, right? Or respond to emails. But for the most part, when we were together and we said we're going to spend this time together, we were there, we were present. We weren't checking our phones and trying to Instagram things. And then I wasn't vlogging about it. We went fishing, we went climbing, we went shopping, we did all a bunch of stuff. I didn't vlog about it, which was very odd for me. But at the same time, very therapeutic, because you're not always trying to document the life of a YouTuber, right? They'll tell you, it's hard to worry about the shot all the time or the tech, just to be present, and to unplug. So I invite you guys to do the same thing, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you are in a relationship, or if you're just in a relationship in general. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to be plugged into your phone all the time, but to unplug and say, I'm going to spend this time with you and let's designate some time together. And if you can make it 5+ days, that's great. It's really great. It's really great for the mind to clear it up. So it was really cool, just we spent time with family. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. We spent time with our fathers, and that was really fun. But yeah, this constant check in, I got to check in. I think it's quite unhealthy. And so if you can find ways to balance it within your realm, that would be most helpful for you. I would say. I'm never going to say should on this show, but I believe that it adds an anxiety sort of perspective to the world. You got to check in, I got to check the feed. How many likes did I get? That's silly. That's really silly. So we need to be rooted in our relationships, not our phones, right? And we will try to live up to that standard as well over here on the lab. Okay, so I would say that this experiment was a success, and I think are much better people in our relationship for it. And we can come back much stronger and have a lot more appreciation for our work when we come back, because we've kind of missed it too, right? I kind of missed doing this thing and typing and writing and just being constantly attached to this stuff. I missed it a little bit, but at the same time I was like, oh, it's not so bad. I don't have to take a picture of everything. And if I do take a picture, like, where are the pictures that Kevin and I can just enjoy for ourselves, that I don't have to put it in an album on Facebook and see how many likes I get. Okay. So yeah, I think it was a success. I invite you guys to do this as well, the unplugged experiment, especially if you have a partner. Okay. So let's move on to the next segment. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next segment. So let's talk about the niche site experiment. See, so I'm switching back and forth between niche and niche. Sorry. Like I said, I ran into a snag with Amazon affiliate links. They weren't working. And if you're just joining us, I'm creating a niche site from scratch, which is quite difficult with my mind, because there's certain things about SEO that I'm just probably never going to get. But I have a lot of resources that you can find in this episode and the previous episode show notes about how to break all that information down if you are interested in monetizing a site specifically for revenue. Well, not specifically for revenue. You are generating revenue from an information-based site. It's kind of like, getting the lab.me, providing information and maybe making some money off of it through affiliate links, affiliate programs, AdSense, things like that. Okay, so my goal was reaching, or is $500 a month. So we're going to get to that, hopefully, in probably about 6 months. No, I wouldn't say 6 months. I would probably say 6 months to a year, generating money within 6 months. Okay, so anyway, there are 3 types of content at which to generate for a niche site. So the first one is general info articles. You're just telling Google what your site is about, so that way it indexes you in the right category. You'll find sometimes that for some reason, maybe you weren't really clear about your categories or your keyword tagging and SEO specifics, and Google will categorize you in something that is totally unrelated to what your actual purpose is. And so that really, really doesn't help you as far as being seen on Google. And surprisingly, because this happens more often than not, as my research has shown. So number 2 are review articles. Okay, so people will review a bunch of crap. Hopefully they've tested it themselves, and then they can, kind of link out using Amazon affiliates or other kinds of affiliate programs to monetize that article. Third are like deal articles, which is really cool. I read about this through a resource that I'll share in the show notes. You just let your list know, or your email subscribers know what the deal is for the week, say. So it's a really great way to produce content that is really helpful, but doesn't take a lot of time. You're like, here's the deal. Go get it, and then maybe make some money from it. So that's really cool. So I'm currently in the process of generating my general info articles right now. I'm just letting Google know what my site is about because it's brand new. It doesn't have any rank in Google because the domain is also new. I didn't buy the domain from somebody else. It hasn't had time to gain any age. There's no domain age, right? So the longer a domain has been out in the internets, the more stronger it will be. Okay, let me just break down how Amazon affiliate works for those of you who don't know. Okay, so you sign up for Amazon affiliate or as Amazon associates, and then you find a product on that site. You grab that code or a link and you post that on a page or a post of your website that you want to monetize. Somebody buys or clicks on that link and then buys from that link that you have, and then you get a commission of 4%. Right now, it's 4% for Amazon, and that's pretty low, but that's just a starting commission. As you start to sell more things and Amazon sees that you are a worthy seller, they'll start to increase that percentage. But I think it tops out at around 10%. Okay. So for example, if I sell like my Zoom recorder right here that I'm recording on, which is around $200, the commission rate is 4%. So I think I made like $8. But imagine if you just sold like a bunch of those every day because your review of this product was so awesome. So now you're just making, $8 from just simply, this post that you made, a couple of years ago or something like that. So there is, great potential. And that's why, the Amazon affiliate site can be quite what's the word I'm looking for? Quite profitable. Doing that whole process that I just talked about once or twice, that's not a big deal, right? So, go grab the code, go here. And that's about 5 steps. That's about 5 steps for you to make a sale. So when you're doing this multiple times for multiple products that you're maybe listing or reviewing or talking about, it gets a little bit tedious. So there's an incredible plugin called EasyAzon. I don't have an affiliate for it yet because I think it's fabulous. I think it's great that if you use a product and it really helps your life and it improves your life by saving you time, which this product does, it minimizes those steps right there. then it's worth promoting. It's about $29, which is basically nothing, and you can use it right in your WordPress. Now, it's an incredible time saver. It was kind of a bitch to set up, but the owner behind it, his name is Stefan, he walked me through everything. And even though Amazon was being really weird, and that was the biggest reason why I was having a problem setting it up was because of Amazon, he walked me through and helped me much more than they did. So shout out to Stefan for helping me out. But yeah, I ran into a couple of snags, but now all of that is very much streamlined with this plugin. And for some reason, when I went to go to Amazon Associates to grab the embed code for an image for a product and it wasn't working, I couldn't see the image, the link wasn't working for some reason, I have no idea. This plugin solved all of that. You can really choose anything you like. So right now I'm probably showing you a snapshot or a screenshot of what the product does, or what this plugin does, which saves you a ton of time, and it's just very easy. And when you're creating posts and you're creating a lot of content, you want stuff to save time, right? So time is our most valuable asset. Okay, so that was my snag. I'm still creating my general info articles. I am taking my sweet time with it because it just takes time. I'm not used to this type of writing yet. And then researching along the way, so it always takes a little bit more time. But like I said, I'll be documenting everything that I do and putting it on the blog at the very end. So hopefully it helps out somebody else the way that other people have also paved the road for niche site building as well. Just another helpful cog, hopefully. Okay. All right. Last segment, last stretch. Coconut water. All right, guys. Last stretch here. So let's talk about the pros and cons of adding video to your podcast. So talking pros and cons of video podcasting is going to be a little bit subjective from me, but I have a lot to say on it. So, like I said, I'm going to be talking about how to add video to your podcast on Podcast Movement 2015. If you want to learn more about that, it's in the show notes. It's going to be in Texas. I'm very excited. There's a lot of ways that you can implement video that doesn't have to look like this. That doesn't have to be this setup. That doesn't have to be this arduous and intimidating. And there's a bunch of other ways. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. So the question was posed, like I said, in one of the podcasting groups that I'm in. And I thought it would be a great preview into what I'm going to talk about because it's just kind of on my mind. As well as be a good fit for season 3 because creating a video podcast is probably the most challenging thing I've done with this whole online content creation thing, in an entrepreneurial perspective and a personal one. So making videos, like I said, making the show, always has made me a better human being because it's just so naturally self-reflective. Or literally self-reflect. You got to look at yourself, hear yourself, edit yourself through the whole thing, And so you can't help but go through a lot of personal development by doing that because you're forced to look at yourself in a way that most other content creators don't, And so it's very hard to hide the flaws of your own delivery of your content, how you present yourself, how you come off, right? When you're looking at it. And when I was doing this day in and day out on a daily basis, it was a very big eye-opener. And it also helped me overcome a lot of fears about, talking in front of a lot of people. I've always had a hard time speaking in front of people, whether it was 2 people or 200 people. So I believe that it pushes me beyond my limits as a human. It always makes me a better person to get to those just personal goals. Besides the tech of it, besides the tech of it and the obvious marketability of doing video, personally, it's done so much and opened up so much opportunity for me. So obviously, you're hearing it right now that I'm very biased for video, but you are going to hear, guys, my honest truth about video, and making video from a daily basis to making video on a weekly basis like I do now here in season 3. So let me just say it's never been easy, but it's always been rewarding. So, making an audio show, that's easy. I've done that too. You just kind of roll out of bed and you can do it. But video, it gets easier. It definitely gets easier. But it's never a breeze, guys. It's never a breeze. So first of all, why would you even want to add video to your podcast now that I'm telling you all this? So, number one, more reach, wider audience. Now that you're on another platform, there's so much more other people out there who can now view and watch your content now, view and listen to your content. Number two, you can add more dimension to your personality and to your brand, to your show, because now you've put a face to the name, right? So you're not just this voice, this name, this graphic. You're this living, breathing, talking thing that you tune in for every single week or day or whatever it is, okay? Number three, you can build a stronger connection with your fans because you've put that face to the name, right? So I'm going to use fans, we're all fans, right? You can build a stronger connection to your audience. So as long as I am watching, hearing, listening, I'm getting a feeling from this content creator, there's a sort of unmeasurable connection and relationship that can be made between creator and viewer, which is something that you really can't get from just listening to a show. Okay, so I always get excited when when somebody who's a big name like Tim Ferriss does a video, because I just like to see him move. It's just another dimension to consuming the content. And when you're a fan like I am of Tim, then that really hits everything for me. So when you do video, you can just reach more on a better level, on a deeper level, potentially. Okay. Number four, you can add more professionalism to your brand, for sure. When you start making video, people view you in a different way. There's this perception of you like, oh, this person does video. They're pro. They know something, which, that's not always the case. And we kind of always know that. But the fact that this creator is doing video and does video on the regular, you're on another level as far as, your content creation. Because we all know that it takes a little bit more elbow grease and a little bit more doing your hair and all this stuff to do video, to put out video. Okay. Another thing, like I said in the beginning, guys, why I do video, it opens up so much more opportunity that I could ever, lay out for you here on the show, that I could quantify even for myself, what's happening in the past, what's happening now, and what's going to happen in the future. I have no idea, but massive personal development, massive relationship building and networking. You learn new skills from just taking on this behemoth of a thing of making video, how to tell the story, right? I think telling a story is kind of like the number one skill of marketing, right? And marketing is everything. Whether you realize that or not, whether you're in business or not, there's always marketing going on and happening within your life. So, using more effects, more razzle dazzle, telling the story, overlaying of B-roll, entertaining the audience, and realizing what you're doing when you're putting out a show is creating a product and a performance. So all this stuff, those are the reasons why I believe video to be monumental in what I do and what content creators can do to boost the visibility and the brand equity of their business, right? Okay, so I laid out for you all the goodness, like why you should even care about what I'm talking about right now, and but there's really a reality to making video podcasts like this, or even just adding video to your content creation schedule or scheme, right? So, like all things, let me just roll out the bad news first, okay? And then we can end on a good note. All right, so let's talk about the cons. Let me get some water first. What camera should I buy, right? So now you got to worry about filming. So even though our camera phones are great, I really don't believe you can shoot a video podcast with it. There's something up with the frame rate, and you'll find that when you're editing in a post, or maybe I did it wrong because I'm not a pro, it's really hard to sync it up, and you'll find inconsistencies, and it's just a headache to deal with. So definitely, I would opt not to use your phone if you're going to do a video podcast. Okay, I just want to say that. I've done this more than once to try to test it. Okay, so what I'm using right now is a Canon 5D Mark III, and I'm using a 35 millimeter prime lens. So that is how you get this shot. I'm shooting at 30. You know what? I'll give you all the specs in the show notes because that's boring. But I used to be a full-time wedding photographer, so that's why I have that equipment. I don't think I would outright buy this type of camera if I was a regular podcaster and then deciding to make video. If I was going to make video and I didn't have this camera and I wasn't a wedding photographer, I would most likely opt for a camcorder of sorts, something that can record for a long period of time. So just an insight. My Mark III that I'm using right now, it can record in 30-minute increments. Okay, so if your show is long, which I don't, it doesn't matter how long your show is, you want to kind of be cognizant of that, right? And I have another camera here that is a Sony, what is this? NEX5T, which is a mirrorless camera, and that records in like 20-minute segments before it overheats and just shuts off completely, and you can't use it for like 30 minutes. The Canon T3i, with that Rebel thing, that records in like 12-minute segments. We have older cameras here, the Mark IIs, those record in 12-minute segments. So when you're using a DSLR, they're not specifically made for video, right? There's tons of stuff, great video stuff, movies even that have been shot with these cameras. But when you're shooting long form and it's just you know, and you don't have anybody to monitor your camera, I would go for something that can record for a long time and it won't overheat or shut off or give you any problems like that, because that's just a headache, okay? But anyway, I'm using this Mark II because that's what I have, okay? That's where I come from. I come from a wedding photographer background. It's got a badass shot, right? It looks really great. I can use it in low light. So even though it's like 5 in the morning or maybe 6 at night or whenever the sun has gone down a little bit, I can still get a pretty clean shot from it. Oh, yes. And if you are interested about this camera here, I have numerous reviews on it, which you can find, again, in the show notes or in the description. Okay, so another con. Where should I shoot? What about light? So unless you have external lights, you have to set them up. You have to take them down. You got to find a place to put them. I would just instead find a big window to be in front of like I am and use that natural light. And it's just much easier. And it makes your life a lot easier too. What if you don't have natural light? If you don't have natural light and you're in a room that's just, you know, that's what you got to deal with, that's fine. And you need to buy external lights, then I would recommend getting LED lights that are daylight balanced. That way, you know, you're not sweating and melting under your own lights and trying to shoot a show or something, because that's very uncomfortable and it doesn't look good on camera either. But yeah, you don't want to be hot, right? You don't want to be hot, and that'll give you the best light for you if you're going to go external lights, okay? What else? You know, natural light can be finicky because, as you guys have seen, if you've seen previous shows on season 2, the sun would sometimes be in and out when it was cloudy or overcast or whatever. And so we'd be exposed and we'd be underexposed, exposed and then underexposed. And it was pretty annoying, but I wasn't worrying about it too much because these shows, I mean, it's stuff happens, you know, you just kind of have to roll with it. If I was shooting like a cinematic video and it was like a sales video, then of course that would be unacceptable. But for these shows, like I bring a certain level of quality, and if something happens like that, then something happens like that, and it's not really a big deal for me. I shoot where to shoot. So I shoot in this spare room / office that we have. It's going to go through a makeover soon, but for now, this is what it is. There's no carpet in here, so that's kind of an issue for sound. You can maybe still hear the echo. I try to master it out as best as I can. And I try to keep the background as clean as I can to be well exposed in the camera and all of that stuff. But it's great if you can, find a little corner for yourself that'll be like your studio or your set, right? So this is my set. Number 3 con is there's more steps to producing your show. So before, if you had an audio show only, it was just like you can literally do the show in your pajamas or naked even, nobody would know, and you would just shoot it, maybe add some music under that, master the audio, and boom, it's done, But with video, you got to shoot it. Hopefully you did it in one take. I do every one of these shows in one take. So if there's any mistakes, I'm either jump cutting to take out a long pause. I don't edit myself for the most part, unless it's totally like really unrelated to what we're talking about on the show. But all the ums and the ahs and the that stuff, I leave that in because that's one, it's too hard to edit out. I mean, come on, and 2, I'm human. All right, so even though I'll feel like the show wasn't my best, it pushes me to be better in the next show. So I think I heard this from Pat Flynn a long time ago, that he won't edit his ums and his ahs and his show that much because he wants to push himself to be a better content creator and deliverer of his own message, just, speaking and the delivery and that skill, that performance. So I don't want to rely on the fact that I can just edit it out. To me, and my personality, I call that cheating. So for me, I'm really going to try to get it right in the one time. And even if I don't, I'm still going to hit publish because then it motivates me to do better the next time. Okay. So number 2, you got to edit it, right? You got to edit the thing. So the same thing with like just editing an audio show. You got to lay in your music. Now I'm laying in B-roll. Now I'm laying in like little images over here. Now I'm laying in, transition music, effects, blurring the background, all kinds of crap, just all kinds of stuff to make, the storytelling of this episode of 30 minutes long, more engaging than just my talking head. Okay. And then you got to learn how to use the software, right? So the big ones are Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro, and Sony Vegas. I use Adobe Premiere CC, Creative Cloud, which you can find in the show notes if you're interested in that. All right, number 4 con, overwhelming possibilities and styles. So with an audio show, you worry about music, you worry about your voice, maybe you cut out a long pause. But with video, there's just this whole new world. You can do so much with video. It's so crazy about how many things that you can do with video. And I'm sure that you can do, somebody will argue me, like some audio master will argue that you can do so much with audio too. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna stick with my side and be like, I think video is more hard. It's more challenging, more hard. Yeah. So you got to worry about that. There's just so much possibility that you can do. You can add so many effects to your show. Number 5, it's an added expense, right? So it's like, man, I got to buy another thing. The equipment that I'm using is expensive. I think my body alone, or my setup here, probably runs, I'm not going to shout any numbers, but it's expensive. Okay. It's expensive, but like anything, nobody starts off with the best gear. You build up to that. We upgraded. Even as wedding photographers, we didn't start off with the best. We had very, very good cameras, but we were always looking to improve our equipment, and we always will. And that just kind of goes with everything, doesn't it? So you can always build up to that. You can always upgrade. It's going to be slower. So maybe your show is not going to look like this the first episode, but shoot, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Humble yourself. So as you can see, there's so much you can do with video. There's a lot of cons to it. It is a challenge even for me now making this show. But, it's exactly why I love video so much, because of that challenge, because of the opportunities that you can do and how creative you can be with it. So I love this challenge. Okay. Let's talk pros. Let me get some water. Okay. Pros. Number 1, more reach. 18 minutes. Wow, this show's going to be long. Yeah, number one, more reach. So since I've started doing video, I not only reach more of my core audience, I figure out who am I for and who am I not for faster, because they can see me, they can hear me. So I get to show off a style and a content creation that is all my own, because I touch everything that you guys are seeing right here. I have touched in some way, or I have finagled or manipulated or made mine in the style that is all my own. And for me to be who I am, like, that's just really important to me. Number two, like I said, I can be more creative, right? I can be super creative in a video show versus an audio only show. And it helps to push my best assets, my best strengths along, and to help move my message along. So, my message is not that crazy different or, epic. Like I'm not reinventing the wheel over here, but the way that I deliver the message, or the way that I say it, or the way that I showcase it, or the way that I razzle dazzle you with effects or fancy equipment or gear or whatever, right? That's this another dimension that I add to good messages that need to be spread. So it allows me to stand out in a way that is different, because not too many people are doing this sort of thing, that take this type of commitment to their content creation and how they put out a show. I'm sure, other people can, do many other things better than I can, but nobody can do the show the way that I do the show, right? Or maybe they can, but I haven't seen it. So I take a lot of pride in what I do, and I think a lot of other creators should feel the same way about their work. Nobody, like, if you're an artist, which you are, and if you create a show, you are an artist, that you should take pride in knowing that nobody can do it the way that I do. And if you don't feel that way, maybe you can try. Maybe you can try to think that way about what you produce. Nobody can do what I do, because then you stand out in some sort of way. Maybe I'm not the best video content creator, but there is a market and an audience for me that is specifically for, the Get in the Lab peeps, the lab rats, right? Okay, so let me see. I think I skipped over 3 there. So number 4, video allows me to be myself and kind of redefine and challenge that definition of what it is to be myself all the time, because like I said, I'm always looking at myself, always editing myself and hearing what I'm saying. I don't just produce the show and then hit publish. I'm listening to what I'm saying and sort of auditing what I'm saying to build more self-awareness. I think, if you're not self-aware and you're just spouting stuff from your mouth and expecting people to follow you, that's irresponsible, for one. 2, it's dumb. you can't just say stuff and then not hold yourself accountable to what you're saying, right? I'm never going to, or I try to never be that irresponsible or arrogant about what I'm saying. Just be like, just do as I say, and not as I do, right? I'm trying to always audit what I'm saying to you guys and hold myself up to that same standard, because it's only fair, right? All right, number 5. So you end up with really 2 very cool products, okay? 2 very cool products that are very marketable. So like my friend Omar says that your podcast, your show, is a product. So if I sell you this content that I'm making right now for free, but it's a product that creates a pretty strong foundation for my brand, because video is the future. If you're not making video, you will soon. Video is now, if you didn't know, and video is marketing, right? So, and like I said again, as I reiterate again and again, marketing is everything. So I too become a product of this show. In effect, I become an instrument to marketing and being an inspiration for others. It's an incredible honor. It's also an incredible burden. So it's an honorable burden, but granted, that's the burden I want to carry throughout this life so far. So looking at this list, I would honestly say that video cons, there's still some kind of cons that kind of snuck into the pros. I would say that the video cons outnumber in quantity to the pros, I would say, just in quantity. But I will always lean towards video because the qualitative, kind of almost unmeasurable pros that I see in it, that it does for me, personally, on the page and off the page, is always going to be just the most rewarding thing. So I believe you can be guided, and it will make the process of making video better or easier. But unless you offhand that process of producing, of editing, it's always going to be a chore. Okay, but I'm super happy doing those chores of video, and because it's a labor of love, and where my creativity and kind of like my secondary personality comes in. So besides me actually, talking to you and you guys seeing me and my personality and my style, it's in everything else as well. It's in the transitions. It's in the way that I made this. It's in the way that I set this up or wrote this quote right here and what quote I chose to write on this board. Everything is done by me. And I'm almost addicted to that DIY, handmade, custom feel, custom touch, because then I know, because to me, when I see that, it's like that person, that creator put their heart into what they were creating. And if you've been with us since the beginning, it was always about content creation with heart. So is video worth it? After this episode, I'll leave that up to you. It's definitely not for everyone, but nothing really is, right? So I simply invite you to try it if you think that the pros outweigh the cons the way that I think they outweigh it. But who knows, some awesome opportunities might come up for you in the future because you ventured out and did video, and you stuck with it perhaps. So if you want to know exactly how I made this show, exactly, like from settings to this, to that, to this, to that, I actually have getting on time. I actually have a little 50 minutes so course about how I do it. I break it down, everything, that you can find in the show notes. Okay. So absolutely for free. So if you like this video, if you did, please like it, leave it a thumbs up. Okay. And, subscribe to become a lab rat today. I hope you guys enjoyed season 3, episode 3. We'll see you next week. Every Tuesday, right? Yeah. Every Tuesday, back in the lab. Okay. So until next time, my name is Megan, reminding you to get in the lab. We'll see you. Peace out.